Hello YouTube world, Mac Daddy 1911A1 here with Shade Tree Survivalist. This is one of my latest drawings. I did about 4 or 5 more yesterday, and I thought I'd share this one with you guys. This here is a Douglas built Dauntless dive bomber. And at the Battle of Midway, while the poor torpedo bombers were down low and slow, trying to drop their torpedoes and sink the Japanese carriers, and were getting their asses shot down. I mean, they were talking about 36 or 38 of 41 aircraft out of one squadron were shot down, and a heap of others out of another one. It was a horrible, horrible day for those guys. Most of them did not make it home back to the carrier. But meanwhile, while they're down there drawing their eyeballs of the Japanese down low and really, really taking it hard, their brethren, the Dauntless dive bombers, were up high. And before the day was over with, 4 Japanese aircraft carriers were destroyed and sunk. This has been one of the most complicated drawings I ever did. Because I was working from a black and white photograph, and because I don't have internet right now, I can't pull up. There are so many beautiful color photographs. People have bought these things and restored them, and it's just so many beautiful photographs. And I was working with an old black and white picture. This aircraft and the action that took place at Midway has always had a special place in my heart because of this right here, folks. That was my very first book I ever bought with my own money. I had like, well, $1.25. My first year, I want to say I was in 6th grade. Well, the only year I was in 6th grade, because when I got to 7th grade, I just didn't want to go to school anymore, and I kept quitting. But, anywho, that book led me to just really enjoy reading. It wasn't my first book that I read that I enjoyed. The very first book I ever read that I actually enjoyed was Sink Battleship Bismarck. But that was in 3rd grade, 4th grade. And I don't happen to have a copy of it, but I still have this. This is the very first one I ever bought, and there's the picture. That's from the National Archives, so there ain't going to be no messing around. But anyway, that's the picture I've been working from. And that was the end product. And this section right here is raised at an angle from the cowling of the engine. And oh my God, I've had to redo the wings a dozen times, the tail a dozen times, the front of the aircraft a dozen times, and it just kept looking like the wing was too big, but it's not. The wing on a Douglas Dauntless is huge because of the bomb load it's going to carry. And you can see in the center line, it's got one bomb. Got a gunner back here with double barrel 50. And then, of course, the pilot up front. And he's got a little sight right there he's got to aim through in order to be able to put him in a hurt locker. But, yeah, this one here is titled Dauntless Delivers Payback. And it wasn't just payback for Pearl Harbor. It was payback for those torpedo bomber guys that really, really took it on the chin with their very obsolete aircraft. And the Dauntless, it was already obsolete. It was very underpowered, very slow. But Bubba, it could damn sure hit the target. And that's picture 1. Let's pause the camera and go to picture 2. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Royal Navy's Fairey Swordfish Mark I. And it's a biplane, and it fought from the beginning of World War II right on through to the very end, because it did a very good job at delivering these babies and tore the Italian and the German navies a new butthole. I mean, literally, this thing just slow as hell, underpowered, easy to shoot down. It was fabric covered in the control surfaces, and parts of it were fabric covered, like the wings and all. But it did the damn job. Remember, I just said the very first book I ever read was Sink Battleship Bismarck. That's a question mark. It don't look like it, but it's a question mark. Obsolete? Question mark. Ask Bismarck. One of these babies here, actually several of them hit Bismarck with a torpedo. One of them damaged a oil bunker, which introduced salt water into the fuel oil. Okay, instead of diesel, it was actually heavy, thick oil they used. And then a second strike, if I remember my facts right, damaged the rudder of Bismarck, so she could not steer, and so she was in a slow turn until the Royal Navy's old battleship showed up, and then they put her in the hurt locker. But without this baby right here, I mean, they didn't have modern fighters and aircraft on their carriers yet the way the United States Navy did. Bismarck would have escaped and really, really been a pain in the ass, worse than it already was. Remember, she sank the HMS Hood and really put the Prince Wales in the hurt locker and a few others, and it was really hard times because the British really had their feet to the fire. But yeah, I always liked the underdog. I always liked the guy, like Rocky and all that kind of stuff. The underdog where they kick some butt and nobody believes they can do it. And like this damn thing here, I mean, a biplane in 1940, 1941, right on through 1945, it served. I mean, a biplane. It was so obsolete and out of date, and yet it was able to continue to do the job when other crap just fell by the wayside. And finally, the F4U Corsair, a.k.a. Whistling Death. Who named it Whistling Death? The Japanese. Why? Because when that baby whistled in, it just tore that butt out of the frame. This was one of the very, very hard drawings because of the gull wing and trying to get that wing there positioned. I had this one coming way back here, which threw this one off. It was way down here, and the angle was all messed up. Took forever to get that, and that's the only, it was a black and white photo, and it was the only photo that I had available in the house that I thought was a really good sequence. And you cannot find that angle, that aspect in a modern photograph, because there's a lot of people restore these babies too and fly them in competition and the races and so forth, and it's just badass. But you cannot find it a good modern representation. But this was like a flight of four, and they were rolling in, fixing to go in and attack the enemy. And it's the only photograph like it, and it's really hard because you can't really see the details. It's a black and white, old black and white photograph from the actual war, and getting that was a freaking nightmare. But the Corsair has always been one of my favorite aircraft, and Pappy Boyington flew this baby, and the Marines really whooped some ass. But here's the kicker, here's a historical lesson you may or may not know. It was the British Royal Navy who was able to figure out how to get this baby to land on an aircraft carrier. U.S. Navy couldn't do it. They kept crashing. The Marines couldn't do it. They just kept crashing and tearing airplanes all to hell and hurting people and killing people. The Royal Navy bought some of these babies, and they made it work. They also invented a steam catapult. They invented the aircraft carrier, the destroyer, the frigate, and on and on and on. Those son of guns over there know their business. That's all there is to it. But they're the ones that successfully flew Corsairs off of their aircraft carriers. Then they taught the United States airmen how to do it. And of course you know, or may not know, but you should know that it went on to Korea, in which it and the Mustang played a huge role in beating the snot out of North Koreans and then later the Chinese. Especially the Corsair, they could carry such a huge rocket and bomb load that when the Marines were surrounded at Chosin Reservoir, they just went in there and just tore them. I mean, just ripped them a new butthole. But yeah, very powerful, very fast, very maneuverable, and could carry a hell of a damn weapon load. But yeah, these are some of my favorite aircraft. Yes, including the old Swordfish. And by the way, they built a replacement for this, and it outlasted the replacement. The replacement couldn't do the job as well as it could. But yeah, The old Dauntless, manufactured by Douglas Aircraft, same ones that manufactured so many awesome aircraft over the years, including the DC-3, the Goonie Bird, which I may do next. But anywho, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the pictures. I know they're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I really enjoyed these drawings, even though I've had to erase a billion times. It came out real nice. But anywho, thank you very much for watching. Y'all be good. Take care.